I was standing in the company parking lot when I got a call from my mother. "You know I canceled the reservation at Marigold Pavilion, right?" she said casually, like she was just talking about switching side dishes at dinner. I froze. "What did you say?" "Your father and I thought it through. That place is just too expensive for an engagement party. We can find a smaller, cozier restaurant." I had to turn away so no one at work would see how red my face was, shock and anger flooding all at once. "Mom, the party is next week. The invitations have already been sent. I put down nearly $3,000 from my own savings." There was a pause, then she spoke, like she was reminding me of life's hard truths. "I know, Stella, but you need to learn to be practical. Dreams are fine, but they have to fit the reality." I closed my eyes. Marigold Pavilion had been my dream venue since I was 15. I'd mentioned it dozens of times over the years. And now, when I was finally about to make that dream real, my mother canceled it. Just days before the event. I stood silent for a moment, then asked through clenched teeth, "What's the real reason, Mom? Don't say it's about the money. We both know this family can afford it." She hesitated, one beat too long. "Well, Stella," she dragged out the words, trying to find the least offensive phrasing. "Given Noah's background, we thought it might be better to start with something more modest." My throat tightened. I knew exactly what she meant. Noah, the man I was going to marry, didn't come from the same world my parents did. He was a mechanical engineer from a small town in Iowa. His father was a plumber, his mother a nurse at the county hospital. He'd graduated on scholarship, started working early, bought himself a used Ford Focus, and still drives it today. Meanwhile, my parents were the founders of one of the largest private hospital chains in Colorado. They were used to throwing parties that doubled as brand statements and business negotiations. I hung up while my mom was still talking. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed again, a text from my cousin Kara. "Heard the news? Marigold Pavilion canceled, but guess what? Auntie's throwing Kennedy's birthday party there instead. Super fancy." Woo! I stared at the message, feeling like someone had just poured ice water down my spine. Kennedy is my aunt's daughter, my younger cousin. Her birthday? Scheduled for the exact day my engagement party was supposed to happen. I gripped my phone tighter. This wasn't about the cost or timing. They were embarrassed to have friends and business partners see me standing beside someone they considered ordinary. On my way back to the office, I caught my reflection in the glass doors. My eyes looked colder than I'd ever seen them. I, Stella Avery, 31 years old, was no longer the well-behaved daughter who stayed quiet when dismissed. I had built a career in high-end interior design without using a single family connection. I bought my first apartment with my own paycheck, without touching a cent from the trust fund they set up when I was born. And I loved Noah for exactly who he was, not for where he came from or what he owned, but for his kindness and intelligence. And today, they stole a moment that was supposed to be ours. I didn't know exactly what I would do next, but I knew one thing. I wasn't going to let this end in silence. The next afternoon, I received an email titled Kennedy's Birthday Invitation. Still Marigold Pavilion, still the exact same time slot, but this time it was to celebrate my cousin Kennedy Evans' 18th birthday, daughter of Aunt Melanie, my mom's younger sister. I opened the attachment. The invitation was luxurious, gold-foiled lettering with a final note. Dress code, formal evening gowns, featuring DJ Cole and a live band from San Francisco. My mother hadn't just canceled my engagement party, she had taken the same date, same venue, and handed it over for an upscale celebration for her niece. No explanation, no apology. I stood frozen in front of my computer screen, mind blank. Noah walked into my office, holding 2 freshly made coffees. He saw my expression and didn't ask anything. He just placed the cup on my desk and quietly sat beside me. I handed him my phone. He read the email silently. After a moment, he asked, "Do you want to go?" I let out a laugh, but there was nothing funny about it. "You think I'll show up pretending to celebrate, be background noise for Kennedy's high society debut while I've been completely sidelined?" Noah looked at me with calm eyes. It's not about going or not going. It's about whether you're ready to show them that what they did didn't break you. I didn't respond. I needed time to swallow this humiliation before deciding how to rise from it. 3 days later, I ran into my mother by chance at Bloom and Barrett while selecting fresh flowers for a hotel lobby renovation my firm was handling. She was with Aunt Melanie and Kennedy. The three of them were excitedly picking out white orchids for the VIP tables. I didn't greet them, but they noticed me first. My mother spoke up first. "Stella, what brings you here?" "Work. And you?" I replied, though I already knew the answer. Kennedy smiled sweetly. "Auntie, I'm thinking about orchids or peonies for the centerpiece." Aunt Melanie gave me a quick glance, then nodded subtly to my mom. I looked directly at my mother. "You once said Marigold Pavilion was too expensive for my engagement party. But now you're throwing Kennedy's birthday there?" She exhaled and put down the flower box. "Stella, a birthday is a family milestone. We couldn't let Kennedy enter adulthood without something memorable. And my engagement wasn't important enough." I clenched my fists. "You're being too sensitive. You have to understand, from everyone's perspective, you've changed too much. You live differently. You love someone who doesn't exactly match the family's standing." I couldn't believe I was hearing that from my own mother. Aunt Melanie interjected. "Everyone wants what's best for you, Stella. We can't throw an elegant party and have guests ask, 'What does the groom do?' and have no story to tell." I turned away, throat tight. On my way out, I caught Kennedy's eyes through the glass. She was smiling, a mix of pity and triumph that made my skin crawl. That night, I opened the storage box where Noah and I had saved engagement ideas, invitation drafts, seating plans, the guest list. I unpacked each piece, one by one, not to cry, but to plan. If they wanted to create a night to remember for Kennedy, then I'd make sure they would be the ones who'd never forget it, just not in the way they imagined. I knew I wasn't like the rest of the Avery family since high school. While my classmates were applying to prestigious summer programs at Yale and Stanford, I begged for an unpaid internship at a small architecture studio in Boulder, the only place that allowed an underage intern to shadow on site. I didn't care about charity golf tournaments, diamond-studded galas, or talking with a nasal accent. I cared about how buildings were designed to make people feel more comfortable, use less energy, and sometimes just feel respected when they walked through the door. In my sophomore year of college, I turned down a paid internship at my father's firm, Avery and Black, and joined a small startup in Denver focused on low-cost community design. The first project I joined was converting an abandoned warehouse into a night learning center for homeless kids. I'll never forget the moment the first light turned on in that room, as kids climbed onto desks still smelling of fresh wood. When my mother found out, she sighed and said, "Stella, you can do things like that later, once you have a name, a status, like building a school after a tower's been named after you. That's how people remember you." I smiled, but said nothing. I didn't need to be remembered. I just wanted to live with purpose, without sacrificing who I was to please someone else. As for Noah, I met him at a conference in Austin about recycled building materials. I was presenting when he raised his hand to ask about applying climate-sensing technology to home design in drought-prone areas. Not flashy, not attention-seeking, but thoughtful enough to make me seek him out afterward. He wore a faded denim shirt, slightly wrinkled khakis, clutching a beat-up laptop like it was sacred. But the way he spoke made me feel like I was sitting next to a true scientist. We had tacos from a food truck on the corner, talked for 3 hours in the 90-degree Texas heat, never breaking eye contact for more than 10 seconds. 3 months later, I invited him to dinner with my family. My mom saw his old Ford and asked if I needed her to call valet. Dinner was tense. My father kept pushing questions about Noah's financial trajectory, while Noah, with genuine passion, explained the healthcare tech project he'd been developing, something no one in the room cared about. After he left, my mother pulled me aside and said bluntly, "You can date someone low profile, but don't choose someone invisible." I clenched my purse strap, holding back. "He's not invisible, you just don't see what you're not used to seeing." My father concluded in a single line. He's not the kind of man an Avery daughter marries. But I wasn't the kind of daughter they thought they were raising. I didn't need the penthouse they pre-booked for me at 24. I turned it down and used a bank loan to buy a 36th floor unit overlooking the South Platte River. I didn't need a gold-embossed business card at Avery and Black. I chose Verde Studio, a small firm founded by 3 retired architects who only took on nonprofit urban renewal projects. I was the youngest and the only woman, but I loved it. Every design there put people first. Recently, Verde won a major city contract, redesigning a network of public medical centers using AI integration. And Noah, coincidentally, was the tech provider for the hospital side. We worked in parallel on the same project from opposite ends, and it made me realize love and career don't have to be a choice between passion and prestige. If the person beside you truly understands and holds firm. My family never saw that, but I did, clearly, and I won't let them judge or decide for me again, not ever again. 3 days before Kennedy's birthday party, I got an unexpected message from someone I never thought would reach out. Dylan, my cousin's ex-boyfriend. Stella, did you know the family is trying to get Kennedy back together with Logan Nash? I frowned, barely typing a reply before my phone started ringing. It was Dylan. You need to know, he said immediately. I don't think Kennedy's thrilled about it, but your mom and Aunt Melanie have been planning this for over a month. Logan and his father are both attending the party. Logan, I repeated, my tone dropping, as in Nash Capital's golden boy? Exactly. My dad just got word he's invited too, even though he's never been close to your family. Reason they gave? Strategic partnership opportunity for a healthcare development in Grand Junction. I shot out of my chair. The Grand Junction Healthcare Project was the exact initiative Verde Studio, my firm, had just secured the design contract for. And the tech provider for the hospital side? Noah. Nash Capital had been trying to elbow its way into my father's hospital chain for months, and now, somehow, my father was turning an 18-year-old's birthday into a disguised business summit. I stood still for a moment, the pieces falling into place like a lock clicking shut. I remembered my mother's words at the flower shop. This is a family event. We can't let Kennedy enter adulthood without something memorable. No, this wasn't a birthday party. This was a miniature investment summit, dressed in tulle and fairy lights. Kennedy was just the excuse. I returned to my desk, pulled up the guest list I'd seen days earlier in an email Kara accidentally forwarded me. Right at the top, Logan Nash and Preston Nash, CEO of Nash Capital, highlighted in red with a note, seated at VIP table with family. I exhaled sharply. This game had been rigged from the start. But one line near the bottom made my stomach tighten. Keep Brad away from main table, no formal invite, have Kennedy handle gently. Brad, Kennedy's current boyfriend. A Brooklyn native, finishing his senior year in fine arts at Parsons, no pedigree, no family connections, and clearly not part of the plan. They were cutting him out in the name of suitability. That night, I called Kennedy. She answered on the third ring, voice tentative. You know Logan's gonna be there, I said flatly, and Brad isn't invited. A heavy silence. I'm trying to figure it out, she said. Mom says Brad would feel out of place in that setting. And you feel okay being pushed back towards someone you broke up with? Logan's not the problem, Kennedy snapped softly. The problem is, if I push back, they'll cut off my funding. All of it. Tuition, housing. They can reroute everything to a different trust account. I tightened my grip on the phone. The story was cycling again. Manipulation through money, image, and conditional love. Are you really going to let them write your life for you, forever? What about you? Kennedy replied bitterly. You stood up for yourself. You broke the mold. But you have a career, a brilliant man beside you. I have nothing except an Ivy League spot they bought me into when I was 13. I didn't say anything more, because I understood. Not everyone has the strength to cut the rope, especially when it's woven tightly with pressure and privilege. Monday morning, Noah and I sat at the kitchen counter, staring at 2 cups of coffee gone cold from the night before. I won't let them define our engagement day with silence, I said, eyes fixed on the window where the sun was rising above the clock tower. Noah nodded without a word. He knew I had made up my mind. That evening, I began searching for a new venue. After 2 hours scrolling through dozens of flashy, soulless options, I stopped at an image of a small rooftop bar called Blue Pine Terrace on the 8th floor of a craft brewery in Denver's Reno district. Nothing extravagant, nothing showy, but it had warm string lights hanging across the ceiling, long wooden tables, an acoustic band on weekends, and an open view of the Rockies on clear days. I texted the manager. Within 15 minutes, they confirmed availability for Saturday, the very day Noah and I were supposed to celebrate at Marigold Pavilion. I sent the deposit without hesitation. At 3 a.m., I got out of bed and started sketching the layout. Each table would be named after a milestone in our story. Austin coffee shop, snowstorm gas station in Iowa, 36th-floor apartment, the first sketch, Tucson road trip. There would be no tuxedoed waiters, no silver-plated menus, but every guest would receive a small ceramic piece inscribed with, "True love doesn't need an introduction." I sent out digital invites to just over 30 people. Colleagues from Verde, college friends, the neighbors who once loaned me a ladder during my move, and even the barista from the cafe where I met Noah for the second time. Within 3 hours, I received 27 RSVPs. One of them caught me off guard. Vanessa. Her message was short. "If this is really happening, I'll be there. Can't promise I'll stay long." I called her that same night. "You sure?" I asked gently, unable to mask my doubt. "I'm not coming to support the engagement," she said. "I'm coming because I know what they did. To you, to Kennedy, to me." For the photo, I had elbow pink. "Then why didn't you say anything?" "Because I'm still dependent, still tied to tuition, to my job title, and to the stupid belief that if I behave just a little longer, maybe they'll finally be proud of me." "But you're not happy." "No," her voice cracked, "and the worst part is, I'm still scared that if I step out of this system, I'll be nobody." I said nothing, because I had once stood exactly where she was. Finally, I told her, "If you come, you don't have to speak, you don't have to pick a side, but you'll see a world where people aren't measured by their last name or guest list ranking." She didn't reply, but the next morning I saw her click attending on the event. Saturday came faster than I expected. I wore the ivory dress I had originally bought for Marigold, not to impress my mother, but because it made me feel strong. Noah wore his blue shirt and khakis. His hair was freshly trimmed, but he kept the same worn-out shoes, the ones he had on when he first hiked Bear Peak with me. The party unfolded beneath a lavender sunset. People laughed, toasted with craft beer, listened to live music, and wrote well wishes in a notebook Noah once used for engineering notes. As I was chatting with a group of colleagues, Vanessa appeared. She wore a simple black dress, no heavy makeup, just a small bag in her hand. "You made it." I said I would. "Came alone?" "No." She turned around. Brad was walking up behind her, holding 2 glasses of ginger ale. I smiled. "I'm really glad you came." Vanessa looked around. For a moment, she hesitated. "You did something I haven't been able to. But maybe tonight is a first step." I looked into my sister's eyes. For the first time in years, I saw more than the rivalry our family had built between us. I saw recognition. Noah and I arrived at Marigold Pavilion at exactly 6 p.m., the official start of Kennedy's birthday party. No one in my family had sent an invitation, of course, but Kennedy, in a rare act of quiet defiance, had texted me the address with a simple message: "If you want to come, just come. I can't stop you." I wore a square-neck black dress, light makeup, and pinned my hair with a clip my mother once gave me when I graduated college. Noah was still Noah. Linen shirt, chinos, warm leather shoes. He looked like a guest who didn't belong here. And that's exactly what I wanted. The hostess hesitated when checking the list, but I smiled calmly and leaned in just enough to say, I'm the birthday girl's cousin, trust me, she wants me here. We stepped into the main hall, the light from hundreds of candles, chandeliers, and crystal reflected off every surface like artificial mist. Classical music floated from the corner, where a string quartet was playing a variation of Clair de Lune. The air reeked of curated power. The first person to notice us was my mother. She froze mid-greeting with a well-dressed couple, blinked quickly, then returned to her polished expression. Zella, you came. I'm here for Kennedy, no need to be alarmed, I won't ruin your performance. She gave a strained smile. Please remember, this is an event with very important guests. I met her eyes. That's exactly why I'm here. Noah was completely ignored. Two of my father's friends by the buffet whispered something while eyeing him with suspicion. A server passed by, paused, and casually, perhaps deliberately, offered his tray of champagne to Noah with a murmur. Hey man, make sure the rest get to the outer VIP table. They haven't been served yet. I touched the server's wrist gently. He doesn't work here, he's my fiancé, and you just made a serious mistake. The man flushed crimson, muttered an apology, and scurried away toward the kitchen like a mouse. Noah chuckled dryly. Guess I should start wearing suits, no matter how much I hate them. We moved through the golden glow of the crowd toward the central table. There stood my father, speaking with an older man with steel-grap hair and razor-sharp eyes. Robert Maxwell, CEO of Helix Dynamics, the largest biotech company in the western U.S. I paused. So did Noah. Maxwell's gaze swept the room, landed on Noah, and held. Within seconds, his face changed. He set down his champagne, stepped out of the conversation ring, and walked straight toward Noah, with a confidence that made the nearby crowd shift aside instinctively. "Oh, Birch?" Noah blinked. "Yes, a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Maxwell." "Good heavens," he laughed softly. "I've been reviewing your documentation for 3 weeks and had no idea I'd run into you tonight." I looked at Noah, calm as ever while shaking Maxwell's hand, but I noticed his palm tense slightly, like he was holding something back. My father approached, his face stiff. "Robert, I see you know this young man." "Know him?" Maxwell turned toward my father. "He's the mind behind the real-time protein mapping system Helix is trying to acquire exclusively." A silent explosion echoed across the ballroom. My father snapped his head toward Noah, eye twitching. And where do you work?" Noah answered evenly. "I'm the founder of Protean Logic. You might have come across the name in last quarter's healthcare market report." My father didn't reply. He just stood there, as if the entire framework of the world he controlled had cracked open in front of him. I looked at my father, then at Maxwell, and for the first time in a long while, I felt no need to say a word. Noah's presence had already spoken volumes. We left Marigold Pavilion at 8:45 p.m. No one stopped us. No one said goodbye. My father turned away right after an awkward handshake with Noah. My mother pretended to be deep in conversation with a group of guests from Scottsdale, but I knew. Ever since Robert Maxwell publicly recognized Noah, every gear inside their minds had been thrown off track. On the drive home, Noah was silent, hands on the wheel, eyes forward, his jaw tight. "I didn't think he'd recognize you that quickly," I finally said after nearly 10 minutes of silence. "Neither did I," Noah replied, "but Helix has been tracking the deal for over a month. Guess they did more homework than we thought." I turned to him. "So, it's done?" Noah nodded, eyes still fixed on the road. "Monday morning, 9 a.m., the press release goes out. Helix Dynamics is officially acquiring Protean Logic for $172 million, plus $3 million in preferred shares." My heart skipped a beat, not because of the number, but because of what it meant. "And you kept it from me all this time?" Noah looked over, his expression softening. I didn't keep it from you. I just wanted it to be real first. And I didn't want it to affect how you saw me." I smiled, blinking through a sudden sting in my eyes. "How I see you is never tied to a bank balance. You know that." We got home at 9:20. I had just set my bag down on the kitchen counter when my phone rang. I stared at the name on the screen, then put it on speaker. "Stila, it's Dad. David. Sorry, Noah. Is he there? I need to speak with him right away. I crossed my arms, leaning back against the counter. This about Helix Dynamics? Yes. About potential partnerships with the digital hospital network Whitestone is rolling out. If he's really got that AI platform Mr. Maxwell was talking about, then you need a meeting, I cut in, voice calm. Urgent. As soon as possible? Exactly. Tomorrow. Brunch, maybe? 11 a.m.? Noah stood behind me, arms folded, expression unreadable. I glanced over, raising an eyebrow. He nodded. Slow but firm. Great. 11 it is. Marigold Pavilion, I said. In the same private room you once reserved for my engagement party. Remember that one? My father paused. Stella, there's no need to. No, I just want you to meet Noah, in the very place you once said he didn't belong. I ended the call before he could reply. Monday, 8:59 a.m. The press release hit Business Insider's front page. Helix Dynamics acquires AI healthcare startup Protean Logic for $175 million. The headline photo, Noah shaking hands with Robert Maxwell, with a graphic of the protein mapping system in the background, the very breakthrough forcing the medical world to rewrite everything they knew about biological data. Verdi's studio felt like it had hit the jackpot. Dozens of congratulatory emails flooded my inbox, even though I was only the fiancé of the founder, not someone with equity in the company. I popped open a bottle of Prosecco I'd been saving and poured us 2 glasses. Noah walked into the kitchen, tie loose, shirt buttons still undone at the collar. Pretty sure your dad's going to that meeting today, half excited, half wounded. I handed him a glass, clinking it lightly. You ready? I've been ready, he said, since the moment they told me I wasn't good enough. Sunday, 10:57 a.m., Noah and I walked through the front entrance of Marigold Pavilion, the very door that had once been slammed in our faces just 3 weeks earlier. Morning sunlight streamed through the tall glass panels, casting long strips of gold across the polished wood floor. There was no classical music now, no clinking glasses, no guests offering congratulations, just 4 velvet chairs and a round table draped in white linen in the private room that was once meant to host our engagement announcement. My parents were already seated, dressed like they were preparing for a business negotiation, not a family gathering. My mother wore a beige tweed blazer, makeup flawless, a stiff smile fixed in place. My father didn't even look at me. His eyes were trained on Noah. Vanessa arrived 3 minutes late, but she didn't come alone. Brad walked beside her, hands tucked into borrowed suit pants, visibly out of place, but steady in his stance. They sat on our side of the table, acknowledging no one but Noah. No greetings, no congratulations. My mother broke the silence, her voice light, as if discussing curtain fabrics. Noah, or should I say David, thank you for taking the time. Stella's father and I are very impressed with what you've built. Noah nodded and placed his hands calmly on the table. Thank you, but today you can just call me Noah Birch, former CEO of Protean Logic, now Director of Strategic Research at Helix Dynamics. I reached into my bag and pulled out a thin folder, laying it on the table. It was a copy of the acquisition agreement between Noah and Helix Dynamics, sent directly from their legal team for the press kit. My father glanced at it, but he didn't need to read far. Robert Maxwell's signature was front and center, right above the number $175 million US. I suppose, I said evenly, this is the kind of value you've been looking for all along. It just didn't come in a form you recognized. Not from pedigree, flashy cars, or Ivy League diplomas. My mother flushed. My father cleared his throat but said nothing. Vanessa spoke up. I used to think Noah didn't fit either, not because I thought he was bad, but because I've been conditioned by this family for too long. But yesterday, I read the article. I watched the CNBC interview. I've never seen anyone speak about public health with eyes that sincere. Brad nodded softly. I applied to Protean Logic once. Didn't make it past round 2. I don't blame them. It's clear they weren't just hiring skills, they were hiring vision. Noah looked at both of them, genuinely surprised. My father leaned back, arms crossed. So what's today about, Stella? A moral lesson, a declaration, or are you here to pitch another deal? I tilted my head. No, we're not here to sign anything. Noah doesn't need a partnership. He has options. I just wanted you both to understand. When you cast someone out for not being flashy enough, you may be discarding a future you never even imagined. My mother reached for my father's hand, whispering, "If we had known sooner." "But you didn't want to know," I cut in. "You just wanted to be right." Silence settled over the table for a few beats. I stood, gathering the documents. And if you still can't see the bigger picture, that's okay. I'm not here for approval. I have the truth. I have someone beside me, and that's what I value most. I turned to Vanessa. Thank you for being here. Even if you're still navigating all the ties and pressures, they didn't stop you from taking a step. Vanessa pressed her lips together, then gave a small, steady nod. Noah and I walked out of the room without looking back. No farewells. No need for closure. We had everything we came for, and what we left behind was just a lavish table with no sweetness left to serve. We had just stepped out of the main hall when my mother called after me, her voice trembling slightly, as if she were trying to hold on to something slipping through her fingers. "Della? Wait." I stopped. Noah stood beside me, silent, but his hand gently squeezed mine, as if to say, "If you want to turn back, I won't stop you. But if you keep walking, I'll be right ahead." My mother walked over, eyes flickering. My father followed behind her, holding a thick envelope embossed with the Marigold Pavilion logo. "We've had time to reflect," my mother said, taking a steady breath. "Maybe things went too far, and if you still want a proper engagement ceremony, we'll make it happen." My father extended the envelope. "All expenses covered, deposit reinstated, guest list your call, no conditions, no strings." My eyes looked at the envelope, then back at them. The same people who once treated their daughter's engagement like a blemish, who chose family image over real warmth. "No conditions?" I repeated. "No," my father confirmed, voice dry. "We'll do it your way." I reached out, but instead of taking the envelope, I gently placed it on the reception counter by the door. "I appreciate the offer, but I don't need a lavish party to feel validated. I don't need anyone's approval to know my love is worthy." "Stella," my mother stepped back half a pace, her voice faltering, "are you turning your back on your family?" "No," I answered, locking eyes with her. "I'm turning my back on the way this family has treated me for years." Vanessa's voice suddenly rang out from behind. "If she's walking away, then I think she has every right." All eyes turned to my sister. Brad stood beside her, calm, like he'd already prepared for this. "Mom, Dad," Vanessa continued, "we've been living in a system where love has to come with performance. Every move is about family politics. But I don't want to enter marriage or build a career as someone else's pawn." "You mean?" "I mean, Brad and I are moving out next week. We found a place in Cherry Creek, and no, we won't need funding." My mother glanced at my father, both too stunned to mask it. I turned to Vanessa and said softly, "Thank you, not for siding with me, but for finally siding with yourself." Then I looked at my parents one last time. "I know you believe status opens doors, but what I've learned from Noah is that sometimes self-respect is the only key worth carrying." We walked away. No one called us back. Faint piano notes drifted in from the room behind us, a soft ballad, like a send-off to something that had long needed ending. At the top of the steps, Noah looked at me, eyes filled with quiet respect. "You just taught them a lesson they've spent their whole lives avoiding." "No," I said with a small smile. "I just closed a door they never deserved the key to." I took a long breath. The air outside was fresh, clean, nothing like the suffocating velvet and crystal atmosphere we had just left behind. And this time, walking away from Marigold Pavilion, I knew one thing for certain. There would be no going back. And for the first time ever, I felt truly free. Stella's story is a powerful reminder that true worth isn't found in status, wealth, or outward appearances. In real life, many are dismissed by their own families simply for not fitting the mold. But through her conviction, honesty, and unconditional love, Stella reclaimed her voice, dignity, and freedom. The lesson? Never shrink yourself to fit someone else's standard, because often it's your difference that becomes your greatest strength. What do you think about Stella's choices and the journey she took? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to follow the channel for more heartfelt stories about family, self-worth, and independence.